So after doing my last video on Pluto RX in the first, I decided that I wanted to cover an RX planet that really interests me, mainly because for some reason I have stumbled across a lot of these people within my time. So we are going to talk about Venus RX and what exactly that means. And I'm not going to go into signs necessarily for Venus RX just because I don't want to make it too complicated, but Venus RX is very interesting to look at. In your natal chart, Venus represents love. It represents desire. It represents the way that you love and the way that you crave to be loved in return. So if you have Venus, say, in Aries, you're going to love in a very independent manner. You're going to love in a courageous way, a way that is very loves a battlefield. Like it's a good way to put it. You're gonna give it your all, or you're not gonna give anything. Probably you're going to be a fighter. So with that being said, you can see how the sign definitely colors Venus. But when you have Venus retrograde, a retrograde planet means that it's turned inward. Everything is turned inward as opposed to being displayed outward. So when you have Venus retrograde, your love style is very different. I've read a lot about Venus retrograde and a lot of retrogrades in general within the past couple of years because retrogrades really interest me in regards to the whole karma aspect of them all. Supposedly with Venus retrograde, you did something in your past life which denoted as not being necessarily loving. There's just a lot of karma in regards to love, and you come into this lifetime with this kind of skewed vision of love. It takes you a lot longer to learn how to express your love style outward, how to show how you care in a quote-unquote loving way, in a way that symbolizes your desire, your wants, your needs. And when Venus is retrograde, you have a really hard time knowing what your wants and needs are, and you have a very hard time showing that you care about people. A lot of people that I've met with Venus retrograde have grown up in situations kind of where they weren't, which I mean, I guess this would be the male vision of this, as Venus for men is the female archetype. It is what you desire in a female. And a lot of people that I've met with this placement have grown up in a situation where they aren't surrounded by a lot of beauty. Now, when I say beauty, I mean for their individual Venus sign. Like, as a Venus in Taurus male, you're going to find women who are voluptuous and curvy and able to provide you with material comfort, attractive. When Venus is retrograde, though, you are attracted to a much more different kind of flavor for your Venus sign. And it's all inward. There's a lot of confidence issues here. There's a lot of questioning and feeling as though you are almost letting go of control by loving somebody and allowing yourself to display these things outward. It's very interesting to look at Venus retrograde. If you have Venus retrograde in your chart, which I have noticed with a lot of people, they've had one grand love affair that has pretty much ripped them apart from the inside out. They've had one experience that was absolutely horrible, and it was normally before their Venus went direct, which most of the time, if you look at Venus retrograde in the natal chart, if you look through your like progressions and stuff, at some point Venus normally does actually go direct, and you are able to show this energy outward as opposed to taking it all inward. And most of the time these people do experience some sort of downfall in love before that point. And then it's kind of like you're putting the pieces back together from there on out. So you had this horrible experience which displays that love is just not something that you're interested in at all. And then the rest of your life you kind of deal with either, I mean, some people actually end up becoming like closet. They just don't want to even like go near relationships or go near any of their Venusianness. Whatever your sign is, they're not expelling it outward at all. They're just like, okay, screw love, I'm done with this. I don't need this at all. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm a Venus in Taurus. That could be definitely it. But I know that with Venus retrograde, they say that it takes a person with a very strong like Taurus placement. Or I think, no, Libra could potentially, as Libra also is ruled by Venus. But it's mainly Taurus that really does a good job at showing these people how to love. Because they don't love in the same sort of way. And by how to love, I don't mean that in a way like they need a teacher. It's just they come into this world so different than other people, and it makes it hard for them to form relationships with people because of that. They don't grasp the same concepts of beauty. Things that are beautiful to somebody with Venus RX are just very different. They might find personality beautiful, or they might find physical traits beautiful, but they're very different in nature than what your traditional Venus sign would find to be attractive. they thrive off of different. They thrive off of things that are unique, and it makes it a little bit hard for them to express love, express love outward, kind of like that little Wayne song, How to Love. Like they are just a little bit lost in that area. I know that I've read with people who have like Venus and Aquarius retrograde that they can actually be attracted to like transsexuals because Aquarius is such an offbeat sign. So when you take that energy inward and the sign is retrograde and you're attracted to something that is different, you can be attracted to something like that kind of extreme different. It's very interesting like that. Venus in Scorpio retrograde can be attracted to either women that are incredibly domineering or women that are incredibly submissive. It really all depends on what aspects are made to Venus and like how that person uses that energy themselves. But the kind of beautiful thing about Venus retrograde is that although their love style is very different, although what they are attracted to is very different, these people actually are capable of like falling in love to in the most purest and richest form possible, like soulmate style love, because they are attracted to something that is different, and it's not just one thing. It's like they're almost searching for their ideal match. And the truth is, with all of the hesitancy towards love, with all of the hesitancy towards bonding and intimacy and all of that stuff, when they do find that, it's like heaven on earth for these people. It just takes them a lot longer. Normally, people with Venus retrograde don't end up settling down until they're in their 30s or later in life. They're not the kind of people that are going to get married right out of high school. It takes them a lot longer to find what they desire and to find how to show that person truly how they care. Now, the placement of your Venus sign also definitely affects this as well. Like a lot of people I have seen with Venus retrograde in like their 10th house, they have a really hard time settling down in a career and actually finding something that they really love. The same goes with people who have Venus retrograde in their 11th. It takes them a very, very long time to find friendships that are quality friendships, people that are actually going to be there and stick with them through thick and thin. And they normally kind of gravitate towards people that they can be the savior with, kind of. It's really, really, really interesting to look at Venus retrograde. But the thing that I have realized with these people is that although you can't feel the energy outward, you will always know that they care. It's very awkward, and I don't know if that just has something to do with me being so perceptive of energy and how it plays out, but you can definitely feel the love, like most definitely. It's almost as if it's hidden. It's almost as if it's tucked away, the actual energy of it all. And they don't know exactly how to expel it outward, or even if they do know how, they're absolutely petrified to do so. Because at some point in time, either in this lifetime or in a past lifetime, they showed somebody love and were not, they didn't experience love in a very blissful way. And normally it does have something to do with it being in their hands. One of the big things for Venus retrograde and karma is that they say that they misuse their power somewhere in the area of love. They either like really, really hurt, not, power is not the right word, that would be more like Pluto. But they misuse their love. They either really, really hurt somebody or really hurt multiple people in their inability to settle down and care, or they were really, really hurt by someone and then in turn turned around and kind of became this virus to society who hurt a lot of people. Venus retrograde, you're dealing with a lot of karma there, and it will probably take you a very long time for you to be able to settle down, for you to be able to show that you care for people, to be able to really express love and your Venus sign in its purest form. But once you get there, you will find that there's kind of this beauty in the sadness of it all, I guess you could say. Like I said, as somebody with Venus and Taurus, like love is like the air that I breathe personally. So when I look at people with Venus retrograde, I'm like, God, that really sucks to not be able to live with that. But because they've never experienced it in its purest form, love, not Venus and Taurus love, but I mean love in general, once they do get to experience it, it's something that they don't really want to get rid of. It just takes them a very long time to trust it and to know that it's not going to rip their lives apart or hurt them. As I touched on before, the other thing with Venus and Taurus is that Venus retrograde, is that they're not normally surrounded by beauty growing up, especially males, because as I said, Venus for a male is the ideal archetype female for them. Like the sign will explain like the kind of women that they are attracted to. They're not surrounded by that kind of beauty. They don't know exactly that it even exists. It's almost as if they see it as though it's some sort of make-believe fairy tale that is non-existent, and although they would love to experience it, it just doesn't seem feasible or real to them. Um, and throughout their lives, especially their young lives, the women that they encounter and the women that they date and the women that end up hurting them in some sense are exactly the opposite of what they're looking for, pretty much. They're looking for something completely different, yet they're attracting all the wrong energy. And that's a big part of it as well. Venus retrograde doesn't necessarily know what they want because they are so disconnected in a sense to what love is to them. They don't know what they want, and they don't know how to ask for it or how to be loved, how to throw themselves out there. A lot of them have like really big confidence issues. Like they will know that like people are attracted to them, but they will still be petrified to like take the first step. It's like this indefinite fear of love in all ways, shapes, and sizes. The other thing that makes a Venus retrograde very, very different is that because Venus is a very feminine planet, they normally have this kind of displacement of male and female energy. They don't necessarily know how to get in touch with both the male and female sides of their personality. So you might have somebody that's overly dominant or somebody that's overly feminine. Just because they're messing up the energy somewhere there in regards to love. And with Venus being, although it is love, it's still the way that you display Venusian energy as well. So when you're not displaying that correctly either, you're really lacking a part of yourself. And that's true of the majority of retrogrades as well. But it's very interesting with Venus because Venus is at, the way that I see it, it is at the core of people. It's at the core of who they are when you're interacting with them. Not even in a relationship sense, but like people display love to the people that they care about. So when somebody has Venus retrograde, they don't necessarily display that love. And it's almost as if a part of them is missing. Like I said, though, as time goes on and their progressed Venus does end up going direct, they end up learning how to do it. And it really is kind of beautiful to watch. It's almost as if they're this flower blooming and coming to life for the first time. And more so than a flower, more so like a toddler that's like learning to walk. Like you watch them in their loving relationships, you watch them learning how to love and how to care about other people and how to show that and how to really understand what it is that they want and need. And it's like you're watching them kind of hobble along and like stumble and fall. And eventually you finally get to watch them walk. But it does take these people a lot longer. So yeah, that's Venus retrograde in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed it.